morning. Welcome back to my Colorado kitchen, Cooking with Carol Diane. This morning, I got out my recipe box and some cookbooks and compared a couple of different recipes on making gingerbread boys. The ones that I made many years ago called for so much ingredients and 5 cups of flour, and I thought, I think I can find a different recipe that just kind of cull this down a little bit with less ingredients and still have a good little cookie. I put on my Give apron of the Santa apron because I feel like today that there's a couple of people out there that need sweetened up. So I'm going to make some cookies and hopefully this helps. It's hard at the holiday season. People get so stressed out over so many different things. And so I've kind of seen that this week, and I want to kind of mellow them out and have them enjoy the most wonderful time of the year, for me anyway, and that's at Christmas. So I have my little decorated kitchen tree. This one came to me by my son's girlfriend, Christina. She was telling me about these cute little ornaments and where to go get them. And so I did, all in keeping with my theme of cooking in the kitchen. And I have added the gingerbread ornaments on here, and the one at the little top of the little gingerbread. And I even have my coffee mug this morning of gingerbread. So, oh, and my measuring spoons right here of gingerbread. So it was either make a gingerbread cake or a gingerbread in a loaf pan, or some gingerbread boys of cookies, and I've decided to make the boys of the cookies. This recipe is a little different. I've got to jump over to my stove next for the main ingredients to go in, which was kind of threw me this morning. I had to read that a couple of times. Okay, and why do you want to do that? But I'm going to try this recipe. It's all new to me, and if it comes out great, maybe you'll want to use it this year for your Christmas cookie. So I will be back in a few minutes after I set up and get things ready over at my stove area. Okay, I'm over at my stove area, and the ingredients that you need to do these gingerbread boys of the batter part, you have to cook and bring to a boil. So the very first thing that you'll need, I brought out my little reindeer measuring cups. And the very first thing you're going to need is 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. So get that in there this morning. I said I've not tried this recipe before, so we'll kind of see how we like it. And if I do, then I'll pass it on to you and tell you that yes, this is what you need to do. Some dark molasses comes in a jar like this. Now, either glass or plastic. I keep buying mine in the glass, but I have seen these in a plastic jar. So we're going to need 1/3 of a cup of that. Nice dark molasses. That is what really gives gingerbread its taste. That and the ginger, ground ginger. Stick this in here, that going. And then we're going to need, my little cheat sheet I have got up here, 2 teaspoons of ginger. Oops, that's not a teaspoon at all. This is, had my 1/4 teaspoon sticking out there. So there's 1, 2 teaspoons. That got up my nose. 2 teaspoons of ginger, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon, that's my 1/4 that I was going to use right here, 1/4 teaspoon of the ground cloves. Stick that in. Now, you want a pan that's bigger than your ingredients, because the next thing is baking soda. And when we put the baking soda in here, it's going to foam up like baking soda does in different recipes, and you don't want that going all over the place. So it's just looking like this right now in the pan, but we need this to come to a boil. So I have my fire on, not quite high, just a medium high. I don't want to scorch the bottom. Scorch means to burn, in case you don't know. Some cooking terms. I'm hoping that my daughter-in-law up there in Wyoming will try this recipe in her mixer that I gave to her. Kind of am hoping. And it does call for 2 teaspoons of the baking soda, but not until this gets to a boil. We'll turn it up just a little bit here. I said I don't want to burn the bottom of it at all. It's been many, many years since I've made gingerbread boys, and I just like the flavor, I really do. Whether it's a cake, the bread in a loaf pan, whatever, just gingerbread. The flavor it just makes Christmas. It makes your whole kitchen house smell really good. And this is the start to many things that I like to bake at Christmas time. I'm not going overboard at all this year. Just a very simple Christmas this year. I did not even decorate my house like I normally do. I just brought out a few things. Just kind of less is more on Christmas this year for me. Okay, now it is at a boil. So I'm going to put in the 2 teaspoons of the baking soda. Mix that around. Yeah, now see it is foaming up. It's foaming up. Take it off of the heat. And now I have to jump back over to my counter. Okay, I'm back over here, and now it calls for, in a regular mixer, so I'm going to be using my tabletop, it calls for a 1/2 cup of butter, and so I have taken it in just little cubes and putting that in my mixer. Just kind of cut up and put in there. And then it calls for this now to go in to the mixer, which we will put it down and start it. And stick this in. Be kind of careful because it is hot. Said quite different recipe than doing it just dry ingredients, but we'll see how I like it. Real careful. Using the hot ingredients. Once you get that mixed up, which it is, the butter is melting, which that's what I want. Then you take 1 egg, put that in there, and then you're going to take 2½ cups. Grab my grab my measuring cup. I thought I had everything set up this morning, but sometimes I forget something. This is just all-purpose flour. So we'll get the 2½ cups. Turn down my mixer just a little bit. while I add, I'm going to go half of stirring it just a little bit. Then I'll go the other half. And I'll get the rest of the 2.5 cups by getting a 1/2 cup. Pour that in there. Smells just like what it's supposed to. Have ginger and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Now on this, I'm going to go ahead and lay out some saran wrap, because when I get this out of the bowl, I'm going to put it in some saran wrap, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, have it cool for about an hour. About an hour. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. Looks pretty good. Everything off of the beater blade. Set that down. Take it off my nice little mixer. Let's see here what it looks like. It mixed up well together. It really did. So I'm just gonna put it out here on my board. Might work better if I just put it with my hands. Stick it out here onto the saran wrap. And like I said, I'm gonna get this cold for a good hour. Whoop. Missed my saran wrap there. And then after an hour, I'll pop back on, and we're going to roll this out. Just kind of make a ball with it. Yeah, it came together really nice. It really did. Just make a nice little ball with it, and then stick it in your refrigerator. I'll be back just as soon as it gets cold and sets. I'm back, and my dough has been in the refrigerator for a good hour. It's pliable now, so I'm going to be using it. I also got out my cute little gingerbread rolling pin. I don't know on this particular dough if it's going to be heavy enough to roll it, but we'll just kind of see. I'm just all in the mood for baking for Christmas, and I thought the gingerbread boys would be a good start to doing that. A real good start. I have put some flour down on my board, and I think what I'll do is I'm gonna, didn't bring out my knife to cut this, but it's all right. Just use whatever you have handy. Really. Just gonna kind of set that aside. I'm going to, still a little cold, really is. Roll this out and see how we like on the thickness. About 1/4 inch is usually the standard size for the cookies. It really is. Standard. It's a little harder to work with when the dough is cold. You just have to kind of help it along a little bit. I like to crimp the edges to keep the dough together. And I brought out, I didn't have a whole lot of them, but I brought out the cookie cutters that I did have. I have one that looks just like a little man, one that has a handle on it that looks like the man, the old-fashioned one that I've done for years of this little guy, and in my supply that I have two little tiny ones, so I thought I'd use those also. So we'll just kind of see here. I also have a cookie sheet that is, you can either spray your cookie sheet, excuse me, spray your cookie sheet or put down parchment paper. And usually I put down parchment paper. That's how I've always done. And I really like those sheets. Most of the time you can find them in the grocery store. If not, it comes in a box very much like foil does, and you just tear off the sheet of what you want. Size that you want. Okay, trying to keep this one in the middle. It seems to want to separate here. So if I was to take the big one and put on here, it has the handle, because the handle makes it where you can get the cookie cutter back up off of here. And that's a good quarter. And we'll put that one on. And sorry, I seem to have the sniffles this morning. It's this weather. It's pretty gloomy outside today in Colorado. We're to have snow tomorrow. We won't get a lot where I live. I'm used to a lot of snow up in the mountains, but it's okay. We'll get a little bit down here. And that'll set the mood. It really will. We'll throw in these little tiny little guys, because every now and then you want just a little bite size of your cookie. Aren't those adorable? Won't those be fun to decorate? Now I will be decorating this with some icing when they come out of the oven. I've set my oven for 325, and these are going to bake a good probably 8 to 10 minutes. Like I said, depending on your oven. Whoop, lost his arm. His arm came off. I'll just stick that back on there. Just stick that back on there. So I'll keep going with this. You just form it back together and keep rolling it out. I'll keep doing that and make the whole cookie sheet, and then I'll be right back. Back again. Cookies are out of the oven. It smells great in my kitchen. It really does, I gotta tell you. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little bit of decoration on the cookies, the gingerbread boys. And to do that, again, this recipe I've never used, so even the icing is a little different to make. And what you'll need is 1 cup of powdered sugar. Put that in my little measuring cup here. Cup of my reindeer. And then you will need 2 teaspoons of milk. Give or take, you know, it might call for a little bit more, we'll see. And then it calls for 2 teaspoons, a quarter of a teaspoon of almond extract, which I always have almond extract handy in my kitchen. And it calls for 2 teaspoons of light corn syrup. Again, this is the Caro corn syrup. Used to years ago, this one came in a glass bottle. Now it's coming in a plastic bottle. So same thing though. And you want the light Caro, not the dark. They make light and dark. Put 1. And 2. Ooh, that's a heaping too. That one came out a little fast. I can smell the almond in there right now. That smells really nice. It really does. And just kind of whip that up. Like I said, I may have to add a little bit more milk to it. Yeah, Just a tiny bit more milk. Just go a quarter, a couple of them. It's hard on powdered sugar. You don't want it too runny. You don't want it too thick. You just have to kind of work it. Go ahead and see how we do on this. Still think it's going to have to be a little bit thick yet. Little bit thick. I said I don't want to go overboard with it because I do want to put it in a pastry bag. Some of it, not all of it. Because I want to give these gingerbread boys a little color. You can decorate them with all kinds of things. I've used Red Hots candies on their tummies for little buttons. All kinds of things. Now I've got a little bowl here that I'm going to take out just a little bit of it, of this mixture. And I can see that the caramel syrup has made this a lot thicker and nicer. A lot thicker and nicer. And I'm going to set that aside a minute, and now I'm going to take my pastry bag and put some of this in here. Down in here. I may leave just a little tiny bit in my bowl in case I want another color. Because I could go red or green in another color. Still looking awful gloomy outside, like it wants to do something any minute, but it's just not. It's, according to my indoor thermometer here, it says it's about 39 degrees outside. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's coming off real good. Okay, so I'm going to take the first one here. And you can decorate them any way you want. You really can. You can put a little zigzag motion on them, on their arms, and down on the legs, like so. And again, if I wanted to take this little bowl here and add a different color, and I'll go ahead with just a little drop of green, but I don't want quite that much in there. I may want to use that in another bowl. I'm going to take about like maybe that much. Just a little tiny bit. I'm going to swish this around. And you don't need another pastry bag. You can take the end of a flat, rounded toothpick, which I have. I have these long ones that have little round. And you can take that to either make, just get a good amount on there. Put your eyeballs on here, your little eyes. And this is the fun part about decorating, that you can use whatever one you want. And making me a little nose. You can go back with your white and you can make a little mouth. Give him a little happy face because he's smiling, he's happy. He's happy. And then in another little bowl, which I have right here, then we'll add some red. Ooh, we barely have a little red in there. I can make it work. If I can get it out of the container. Pardon me. The sniffles today and the sneezes. That's not good, is it? Hope that doesn't mean a cold coming on. I've been around a few people that other people are Not feeling very well. That did it just fine. Doesn't take a whole lot. Now, if I wanted to make this really red, I'd be getting my big bottle of the red food coloring out. But it certainly doesn't hurt to have it this color at all. And again, another toothpick. Whatever you have. And let's put some buttons on him. And I may have to get that other red out. Well, this is a little girl one. That little girl one. And what? And maybe I want a little scarf on her. And it will go around here. Give her a little scarf because it's winter time and it's cold outside. Even for the gingerbread people, it's cold. If you have other pastry bags, or you can certainly put this in a plastic Ziploc bag and cut the little end of it. It's however you want to do it. This morning I'm not going to go crazy on this. Just maybe put some little dots on the scarf. It's a little polka dotted scarf. Okay. Just get out your creativity, you know, have it come out and do it any way you want. Add a little bit more on here. And then if you wanted to put a little hat or something on it, you can do that too. Or it's hair. You can make that that's hair up there. A little, smooth it out a little bit. And there's the first little gingerbread guy. Isn't he cute? And I will go along with this, doing even the little baby ones. I think they're going to be really cute because I like to have little ones like that. You just pop the whole thing in your mouth and enjoy them. And that's what Christmas is all about, is enjoying making things in your kitchen. It doesn't have to be all about the gifts. You can make things like this and give them away as gifts. This is a little tiny one, so I'm going to make the eyes of this with the pastry bag. Little nose and a little mouth. And again, you can do the zigzag or whatever design you want. If you want to make it all the way and put little gloves on them, little boots on them, that's cute too. I've done that too, made little boots and gloves. They kind of have to have little buttons on them, so put your little buttons on. There's a little guy right there. So I will finish out these. I think I counted 11 or 12. I got 12 of the bigger gingerbread boys and a whole bunch of these little ones. And so that's gonna be just fine for what I want. The other recipe, like I said, that I've used for years with 5 cups of flour, it just made so many cookies, it was ridiculous. So I don't need that. So the recipe again for this one, if you like it, I'm sure it's going to be just fine, is 1/4 cup of the brown sugar, 1/3 cup of the dark molasses, and use it generously on it. 2 teaspoons of ginger, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and you cook that on your stove in a pan, and then when it gets to a boiling stage, then you add 2 teaspoons of the baking soda. Then you pop over to your mixer and you put in 1/2 cup of butter in chunks. You mix that, and then you pour that other mixture of all the spices and everything into that, melting the butter. Then you add an egg, and then you do 2.5 to almost 3 cups of flour. I just did the 2.5, and I did it in half increments. and then I put it in some saran wrap and stuck it in the refrigerator for an hour to chill. And then I rolled it out and put it as gingerbread boys. You can also use any cookie cutter that you want. Maybe you want snowflakes, you know, as ginger cookies or whatever you want to do. And this recipe, yes, could go for gingerbread houses. That would be a good idea too. If my granddaughter was here, we'd probably be doing gingerbread houses because that's always fun. The recipe to make the icing is 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of milk, 2 teaspoons of milk, 2 teaspoons of the light corn syrup, and 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract. And then add whatever food coloring you want to jazz up your little cookies. Bake all this at 325 for, I did mine at right at 8 minutes, so 8 to 10 minutes depending on your oven, and I think they'll come out just fine. So I'm gonna sign off now. And wish everybody happy holidays. I'll be baking and cooking some more stuff. You'll see me again. But this recipe I'm giving to my neighbor and different people that I think kind of need some sweetness in their life right now. Calm them down a little bit. So from my kitchen to yours, this is Cooking with Carol Diane. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye now.